Hey everyone, it's Howie and Kaylyn here from Pure Mind. Hope you're having an amazing day, and thank you for tuning in to this week's transmission where we're going to cover a really important topic. We hear this a lot. It's something that Kaylyn and I have both dealt with in our own life, which is why aren't the breakthroughs we're having landing in our personal life? Like, what's going on? Like, we have this big, powerful insight, and then it doesn't seem to integrate. We can't emulate it in our day to day. So, we're going to talk about this more from the lens of breakthroughs in the ketamine assisted therapy space. So, from these ketamine experiences, we have these insights. What could be going on, and how can we kind of roll with the punches or facilitate this process a little better so that we're not being so hard on ourselves for not being perfect? We're adding extra pressure and resistance to our healing and growth process. Is there anything you wanted to touch on, Kaylin, before we dive into it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is that if you are someone who is experiencing these big ahas, these insights, and feeling like you just can't hold on to them, the first thing to know is that you're not doing anything wrong. Most of our clients come to our calls every week with the same concerns. And I think the biggest thing to take away from today is that it's not that you're going backwards or that you lost that, it's that you haven't yet created a system that can really hold it. And today, our goal is to really teach you how to really support your body, your nervous system, and your identity to really take these insights into embodied, lasting change. So I'm super excited for this today.
Exactly. So let's jump right into it. So let's talk about the peak experience versus basic reality, if we want to call it that. So, what we've noticed in our own journeys and witnessing a lot of people in their journeys is we kind of oscillate between these really amazing, beautiful experiences where maybe we have a ton of clarity around our life, or we're able to see the pattern recognition about how we ended up where we are. But then we snap out of that peak state and we return back to this kind of mundane day to day state where it doesn't feel the same. We're feeling stressed, we're feeling frustrated, and we're wondering why can't I land the plane into my day to day life? What I think is really, really important here is that both states are important. We might prefer the peak state where it feels easy and we feel like we have clarity. But that idea of like chop wood and carry water, the process of building in physical reality, the process of growing and developing takes time. So your consciousness can have this big aha when you're up in the plane and seeing everything from the aerial view. But once you get back down onto the ground, you might be able to hold a little glimmer of what you saw from that aerial view. But the actual process of walking the path can feel really challenging at times. It can be frustrating. It's very human. So I would say that one thing, as Kaylin kind of mentioned already, is honoring both sides of it. You're not doing something wrong because you saw something clearly from the plane and it's difficult when you're walking the path. What do you want to add to that, Kaylin?
The thing that's coming to mind that feels important to add to that share is that once you become aware of something or you see something or you touch something, it doesn't ever go away, right? So the biggest thing is like when we open these doors or we have awareness or insight into something deeper that's pulling us or calling us, even if we're not able to fully land it into our conscious window or into that kind of like default that our body or our identity naturally operates in, it doesn't mean that it isn't there. Like Howie's saying, it just takes practice to make that your normal, right? To really stabilize and reorient yourself around that new way of being, behavior, relationship, job, whatever it is, right? And you really do this on an identity level, right? Who you're choosing to be. I will say it again on a soapbox every single call if I have to, but it's really looking at your identity and who you're choosing to be. And why this part is so important is, if we really look at our reality, okay, your reality is essentially a matrix of your identity, of who you believed yourself to be up until this point. So it's mirroring back to you every choice you made, right? Every belief you had in yourself, every time you were brave enough or courageous enough to do something different. But it's kind of like that saying where like old keys won't open new doors, right? So when we are touching these insights or having these awarenesses, it's almost like we're getting a peek behind a different reality or identity, but you still have to be the one to say, yes, I'm choosing that, right? So it's kind of like putting on a new identity or putting on a new role. And the more you actually like experiment and you play with being that expression and being that version of you, you kind of give your nervous system or your identity some buy-in that, hey, this way of being actually feels really good to us. Hey, it's actually safe to, express myself this way or to show up in this way. And the more that you do that, it's easier for you to hold on and anchor that to be the new normal, right? But in the beginning, there is this complete like reorientation of self. And a lot of people take that reorientation as a sign that they're failing or that it's not working or that they're going backwards when really it's like that kind of like messy middle of true transformation. And that's the moment where so many people quit, you know?
Exactly. And I think what's interesting, you mentioned safety, and I think sometimes we get confused on what safety means because we can associate it with like a feeling in the body of like, oh, I feel safe. It's like your body might be freaking out because of the life it's lived. Is
Yeah.
it safe enough to have its freak out? That's actual safety, which is an orientation towards your body's experience and also your mind's experience from the perspective of consciousness or awareness. So, as an example, my body's freaking out, it's overwhelmed. Body, of course it is. Look at the life you've lived. It'd be insane if it were any other way. Like, I honor you and you have the space to express in this way. Mind, you're going to worst case scenarios, you're predicting absolute catastrophe? Of course you are. You've been the role of protector and problem solver. I don't have a problem with that. So you become aware, like, and we talk about awareness a lot, like you can't really do anything without awareness. And this is where these insights or these experiences shed a light on these things. But the
Yep.
opportunity is to create enough safety to let your body and your mind have its process of unraveling without you adding an extra layer of resistance by saying it shouldn't be this way. And actually going to the opposite and saying, how could it be any other way based on the
Mm,
life I've lived? So if you start going there, how could it be any other way? Of course you're freaking out, but I don't care that you're freaking out. So I'm not adding resistance on top of resistance. And when
yeah.
the body doesn't feel like it's fighting against consciousness, then it's allowed to have its process of expression. It's actually allowed to have that energy move fully. And the tightly wound ball doesn't have anything holding it together anymore. So just it starts to unravel on its own. And you get to witness that process as consciousness. So I think that's one side of it where we just let things happen. And then, like we talk about a lot, well, what can I practically do to support my system in this process? So maybe it's as simple as like, well, I've been inside all day. I could go outside and walk and be with the trees. Not to get my mind to shut up or to get my body to feel differently, but that environment feels more supportive of this unraveling process. That's why I'm going to do it. So I think when we start honoring our body and our mind at that level, that's the true letting go. It's the resistance on top of resistance. And eventually your body's like, it gets re-imprinted. So if your body's known survival and pain and suffering, and that's why it's reacting to life in the way that it is, over time of you being like, dude, you can do whatever you want. I will not abandon you. The new impression becomes, I'm not alone in this anymore. So energy
Yeah.
can move a lot more freely, and that's actually true safety. It's not the absence of never feeling unsafe or never feeling afraid. It's just not turning that into a bigger problem.
Yeah. And I think too, like another layer to pull in is like, of course, it's going to feel like it doesn't stick because it's challenging everything that you believe to be true, every part of yourself that you took as, fact. And that's the beautiful thing about altered states, right? It gives us this deeper sense of awareness, with awareness that kind of really expands our perception. And then we start looking at ourselves and we're like, wait a minute, that can't not be true, right? So it does feel like this just chaotic energy almost in the body where you're like, wait a minute. It's almost like, I keep always coming back to like the rug being shaken out underneath your feet, but that's the beauty of starting to let go and release all the parts of self and ways of being that truly were never yours to begin with. but it doesn't feel safe and it doesn't feel like it sticks just because it's not practiced or familiar to you. It's not familiar to you to be more of yourself, to use your voice, to say no, to set boundaries, right? So, of course, that feels hard or challenging or unsafe for you to do in your normal conscious window. But it's like every time you take that energetic vote, every time you lean a little bit closer to that, every time you choose it, even when it feels terrifying or unsafe or out of alignment, you reestablish a new normal for yourself. You reestablish a new pathway. You start making that the new normal way to behave and to show up. So, it's kind of like that thing where we've said it before, but you have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to be willing to let your identity flex and shift and change, or you're never going to be able to access this new way of being or reality while you're still like clinging so tightly to this old version of self and what you thought to be true or what you thought was possible for you, right? It's like you have to be willing to change. And I think too, it's like, I don't know why this is coming, but everyone always says like, oh, like change is hard, like transformation is hard. And it's like, no, it's actually really not. Like changing isn't that hard, but being uncomfortable is, right? Being in the unknown is. And it's like being courageous enough to honor where you're going, to let go of it having to look a certain way. Are you really being in control and letting life surprise you and letting it be an experiment? And I feel like that's where we've kind of like gotten to, Howie and I, and it's so much more fun, right?
It is, because if you can like objectively look at your body like having a freak out about something, and then you can objectively look at your mind spinning out around the way the body feels, and you're like, thank you, like you are so safe to express. At the same time, I don't have to believe what my mind's saying if that's not where I choose to go at this point. So it's
Yeah.
like you get to be in the passenger seat, but I'm still driving the car. You're allowed to scream all you want in the passenger seat. I don't care. Like, that doesn't bother me. Like, I don't have to like a tantrum, but I'm still driving the car and you're still allowed to have it. So it's
Yeah.
this interesting balance of what direction do I want to move forward in that feels aligned with my soul, aligned with that deeper part of myself, and then how can I just let my mind and my innocent body have their freakouts when they have them? I don't have to engage with it. I can just hold space and let that unwind on its own. Because do we trust the intelligence of life? Well, if we do, why are we interfering with that process as consciousness? Like, why do we think we know what we need in that moment? Like, let life do its thing. You get out of the way and you keep focused on where you want to go. And I find that that balance makes life more fun because you're no longer turning the body being uncomfortable or the mind spinning out into a personal failure. Like, oh, here we go. I'm going to manifest a shitty timeline because my body's feeling fear. It's like, give me a break. What manifests a shitty timeline is your resistance to letting your body actually have its experience.
Yeah.
Because then the body holds on to it and it's like, well, if you're not going to listen now, I guess we'll just have to wait 10 years to have this conversation until you're ready.
Yeah.
So you want life to get easier? Stop turning your body being stressed out into a failure. Stop turning your mind spinning into worst case scenarios into a failure. And just, this is what's learned. If we want to unlearn it, we have to stop fighting it. And so I think that's a huge key. And it doesn't sound sexy, right? Because we all want to just feel good all the time. But that's not reality.
Yeah, it's not reality. And I love that you touched on resistance because I think this is a big thing. As soon as, we start experiencing resistance, we automatically make it a bad thing. And that is what creates the suffering. It is our resistance to what is, believing life needs to be or should be different. And then I wouldn't be feeling sad on Saturday. And then this would be better if this was just like this. And it's like, actually, you have no idea if that's even true, right? That's literally just an idea. So when we can get into this kind of like dance with life where we look at our resistance as signs where, hey, there's a part of me here that's asking for deeper support. There's a part of me here that's asking for deeper alignment. Ooh, I'm having resistance because there's something between my internal and external realities that isn't really adding up, and maybe I should be more curious about why I'm feeling this way and what's coming forward instead of automatically making it bad and I'm wrong and now I'm suffering, right? Because then you get into this element of feeling stuck, right? So many of our clients come in, they're like, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, nothing's happening. And it's like, well, what are you challenged with? Where's your obstacle right now? And they'll tell you 10 million different things. Well, then you're not stuck. You're just resisting your evolution. You're resisting where you actually have an opportunity to become the type of person and to practice your boundaries and to be a leader and whatever the, experience is. But so many times it shows up to you as resistance and as an obstacle, right? It doesn't come in this pretty package from the universe saying, here you go, here's what you wanted, right? It doesn't work that way, right? And we really wouldn't have the tools or the resources or even the embodiment or the capacity to hold the thing if we skip this messy middle part of really becoming the type of person that can hold it, that can sustain it, right? That can actually be that expression in the world, right? So much about, having these breakthroughs. It's not like the breakthrough is the medicine or the breakthrough is the thing that will change your life. It's actually having the breakthrough, working through the resistance of transformation, of getting to that, and allowing yourself to becoming through that. Like, that is the work, And so many of us try to bypass it because we just want the good, right? We want the feel good, we want the present at the end, and the bow on top. And if it doesn't look that way, then we don't want it, right? You're
Exactly.
missing the beautiful part.
In the breakthrough, it's not like it's not important. It's just, it's important for different reasons. Like a breakthrough can give you hope, for example. It can give you confidence. It can kind of show you that the path actually leads somewhere. But
Hmm.
walking it is different. It doesn't feel like a breakthrough. It feels shitty sometimes. But if we look at the human experience and what we're actually all going through, wouldn't we all agree that there's moments that we absolutely hate and there's moments that we really like? Okay, that's contrast. You can't have an experience of really liking something if you didn't have the opposite experience. There wouldn't be an experience without the contrast. So if you're going through a tough time, be honest with it, right? I hate it. This sucks. But I will not abandon it because this is actually anchoring in the contrast for me to go through an experience to the other end where I do
Yeah.
like it. So sometimes it's like, oh, I want to manifest my vision board. It's like, you might, but the path to getting there, you might have to sit in the opposite first so you can actually have that full experience of going from, scarcity to abundance, as an example that I know a lot of us are into, or
Yeah.
fear into clarity. So if we look just more practically at what we all go through, the ups and downs, if we stop turning that into a problem but necessary for us to have a human experience, then it just becomes less of an issue. Like, you feeling bad isn't your fault. It's a contrast point. You learn a lot by sitting with stuff that you don't like. And then you get to have the other experience, like, wow, I get to relish in the part that I really does align with my preference. So the more we can just be neutral about it from the orientation standpoint, not neutral and like pretending like we feel neutral if we feel really stressed or if we feel really anxious. Not to pretend like, oh, I'm neutral about that, like I'm above my body. No,
Yeah.
I'm stressed. My mind is spinning, but I'm here holding it all, and it's all okay. This isn't my fault. So I think this is really important to take the pressure away so you can let life do its mysterious thing that it's doing to help us evolve. And if you are able to surrender to that part and let go to that part, life gets a lot easier because you're not compounding resistance. Parts are still going to suck. It's not a get out of jail free card for parts of your life sucking. But it doesn't make the sucky parts impossible. And there's a big difference there.
Yeah. And I think too, a piece to pull into, it's like also remembering like you access those breakthroughs, right? Like when we are in an altered state, right? That is what is giving us the awareness and the expanded perception to really touch that and to feel that. But when we're in our conscious waking window, we're going to default back to our baseline. And if you're not familiar with that, please refer to our last trainings. We go in depth about baseline and how to shift this. But that's the other thing to really keep in mind. It's like, yes, we're tapping into this, but we're automatically going to contract or come back into baseline. So how do we take this and really like make it integrated change? It's by looking at in our normal conscious waking windows how we integrate little pieces of that breakthrough. And it always comes down to who we're choosing to be. Always. And it feels, like we said, it feels resistance. It feels out of alignment. It feels like imposter syndrome, right? Like we've heard all of those things from our clients, but like that is the practice and the art of really creating it into your normal state, into your identity. So allow it to feel resistant. Allow yourself to do it scared. Allow yourself to feel like an imposter, to feel delusional, right? I had a client the other day, I'm like, this feels delusional thinking like this. Great. Do it until your mind believes it.
Exactly.
Right? That's how we're going to get there. So I think that it's just important to tie a bow on this part that like both are useful, and it's like you close the gap and you close the resistance by really like leaning in through choice.
Exactly. And you mentioned the curiosity aspect and the choice aspect. I think sometimes we want the choices to seem like really big, like
Hmm.
lightning striking. But oftentimes it comes down to, are you tending to the values of your life? Are you
Hmm.
supporting your body? Are you creating? Are you of service? These things that we know are important, independent of the way our body feels or independent of the way our mind is thinking. So getting curious about that, am I tending to these areas? Because like let's just use the example of your health. Let's say I've been really sedentary. I'm not working out. I can tell my body wants movement, but I'm not giving that to my body. And it's like, well, I'm going to go to the gym, and the body feels resistance. It feels anxious or overwhelmed. The mind's spinning out.
Yeah.
You can let your body and mind have that, but is this action still aligned with my values? Because who cares if how my body responds to it?
Yeah.
So that's where we take the steering wheel and we say, body, you're allowed to freak out. Mind, you're allowed to freak out, but we're still doing this because this is important. Same thing, a good example that most people do, like most parents do, is they'll take care of their kid because they value their kid. They really, own the responsibility of having a kid. So it's like they'll take actions whether they're tired, whether they feel like it, to support their kid. Treat your body the same way. I'm going to take actions that support you. I don't care if you throw a hissy fit about it. You're allowed to throw a hissy fit. That's not wrong. But if this is still tending to that deeper part, then we're nailing it. So
Yeah.
a lot of people kind of like are asking questions at levels that are a lot more surface than getting deep down to, am I actually nurturing what's important in my life? So these perspectives can't really land until the foundation and like we just mentioned, the baseline is being tended to. So go through your
Yeah.
checkbox. If it's like, oh, I am tending to all these things, but life is still giving me a shitstorm, fine. You're owning your part. This doesn't guarantee that life's just going to bend over backwards for you. It just means you could tend to the garden perfectly and still have conditions that don't yield a big harvest. That's not
Hmm.
your fault. You learn a lot by doing everything you can and not getting what you want.
Yes.
So, are we tending to our side of the fence? Are we nurturing our values? This is how you actually have this space and the foundation for bigger insights to land. So
Mm.
we have to make sure the foundation's strong first. Because otherwise it's going to feel like, oh, it landed for a week and then you're just spinning out again.
Yeah. I think that part's really important, and we speak a lot to that, right? Like, you can't even access what you desire or this next breakthrough or whatever it is if you're not taking care of what you need. And it is like a very basic primal level, and it seems simple, but so many people are missing it and not doing it, right? And then wondering why they can't have these bigger things manifest or land into their life. So I think that part is so important. And let's say you are someone who you could say, yes, I'm eating, I'm sleeping, I'm exercising, I'm doing all these things, and like I'm still feeling like, you know, then we can start moving to this place of integration through this lens of experiment, right? Because so many people keep it in their head where it's like, well, I don't know if that thing would be in alignment for me, and I don't know if I would like it, and I don't know if you see where I'm going with this. So action bursts clarity. And a big way that you can begin to tell if something is in alignment for you or is nourishing to your spirit, your soul, where you feel called to go, is noticing, not how you feel before, because kind of like how I was saying, if you're someone who doesn't ever work out and part of your thing is to get healthy, obviously every part of your identity and body is going to be locked up and contracting thinking about going to exercise. But after you've been exercising and then you notice how you feel when you leave the gym. Wow, I feel so strong. I feel empowered. I have more energy. I have more clarity, right? So you want to notice after you do the thing and you work through that first kind of level of resistance. Now, how does my body feel? Now, how is my energy responding? Wow, how did time move, right? Because so many of those things are going to give you deeper insights as to what is in alignment for you, your spirit, your nervous system, right? So you start getting into this loop and kind of like dance with the universe where you start to figure it out on an experiential level. And that's the fun part, right? And the beautiful thing is nothing set in stone. If you feel called to go try salsa dancing for whatever reason and you're like, that makes no sense, why would I do that? And you do it and you feel the sense of aliveness and expression and, maybe like for me, like femininity when I dance, like it activates all those things for me. Even if it's not correlated to like something I'm trying to build in my life or my business or my clients, it's something that deeply nourishes my spirit, which then impacts and influences everything around me. But I would never have known that if I didn't first lean into the resistance of me thinking it was silly to try salsa dancing. It's kind of a weird
No,
example, but it's
I love that example because you're absolutely right. It's about doing things, being willing to do, but it's hard to do when we're overly identified with the way our body feels and the way our mind thinks.
yeah,
Your mind can think and feel whatever the heck it wants. That doesn't have to dictate what you do. And this is something I really hope lands for people because you can literally do anything pretty much, barring like crisis type conditions, thinking or feeling any way. The bigger issue is that we're taking too much personal ownership over the way our mind is thinking and our body is feeling, and that's what keeps us stuck. We think,
yeah,
I need to feel good before I do this thing, or I need to have good thoughts before I do this thing. And it's like, well, have fun waiting around forever because it's
yeah,
always going to be a hodgepodge of feelings and thoughts versus my body's allowed to feel, my mind's allowed to think, and I'm allowed to choose based on my values, not based on the way my body feels. And like Kaylin said, once you start doing it and your body starts saying, I like this, you
yeah,
notice that your mind is more invested in the moment, right? It's you kind of lose track of time, right? We get into that flow state. These are signals that, hey, I'm in more coherence with this. Like this is actually fun. The process of doing it is the point. It's no longer a means to an end. And now you're actually living your life, which is the point. So rather than living life as a means to an end where we're always trying to find safety in the future, you actually get to enjoy it. You actually get to explore and be curious and try new things. So just to recap really quickly, because I really want this to land, doesn't matter how your body feels, doesn't matter what your mind is thinking, start making decisions based on what nurtures your life, which are your values. If you can start doing that, everything else works itself out. You could go to the gym feeling anxious, having negative thoughts, it doesn't matter. We're going, we're going to show up, we're going to do something there. And you're allowed
yeah.
to cry the whole way. I don't care.
Oh, I love
That's the
that. And
sweet spot, I think.
it is the sweet spot. And I think, too, just all of that and allowing yourself to really move and to choose from who you're desiring to be or who you're becoming or what you want to experience and not who has gotten you to this point, right? And that's kind of a hard thing to do, right? But when you actually put yourself in the version of that self who's already living that way, who's already making that amount of money, who's serving these clients, who, has whatever it is that your heart's desiring, when you start really anchoring into that identity and choosing from that identity, you essentially can collapse time, right? So again, like I know I've already referenced it, but it's like your old self isn't going to build your new life, right? And you have to be willing to let your identity shift as you desire to evolve, or you're never going to be able to really tap into whatever it is you desire to experience. So choosing from that version of yourself who already has it, right? Who's already done, right? Because they're not busy worrying about how to get there because they're living it. And then what are they doing? How are they spending their time? What are they eating? How are they dressing? It seems like little small things, but those things really put you in the mindset and the identity and the reality, the frequency, the energy of that, which draws in everything else, right? So, just to
And that
add that
future
little.
self, like if we wanted to just simplify it, it's like they're better at tending to their values.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all they're doing. It's like they don't let their thoughts or feelings determine what they do.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think if we can start getting down to the basics, like how can I get better? Like just to use one personal example, and I know I've talked about this before, but I was not nurturing my creativity. And so I started making music again. And my God, how
Really
much
good
energy
too.
and nourishment that gave me was amazing. I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize like how much not taking care of this part of my life affected every other part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to beat ourselves up. We just look at it like, am I nurturing my creativity? Am I nurturing my spirituality? Am I nurturing my relationships? Do I care about my body? Am I getting enough sleep? Just lay it all out there. There's going to be things that you're like, yeah, that's doing pretty good. That plant over there is dead. Okay, maybe I should start tending to that area of my life. And I'll
Yeah.
probably start creating some momentum. So this is so powerful in terms of the reprogramming because we're moving outside of it needs to feel a certain way or that you have to have certain thoughts. Whenever we get lost in that, that's what keeps us resisting what is, and that's what prevents us from taking action on things that actually can support our life. And I do want to make it clear one last time that just because you do all this right, it doesn't guarantee anything. We want to make sure that we're doing this through a lens of unconditionality. I do this because it's who I am. I care about my life. It's a genuine act of love. It's not because it's going to give me what my mind wants. Because as soon as it's that, we're still kind of playing the same game, kind of trying to trick ourselves. Versus like, no, it's just who I am, and I'll trust the results because I'm owning my side.
I love that you brought that forward because I think that is a really important piece, right? Because then we see this all the time. We're like, well, you guys, I'm doing A, B, C, and D, and still it doesn't look how I want it to look. And the point of transformation and of becoming isn't just about getting to this end goal or result, right? It's about who you be along the way. And so much of this work, and we always come back to this place, but it is about building capacity. And you have to understand that the universe doesn't have good, bad, right, wrong, right? It's a capacity thing. So when they're looking at you, your capacity to hold that level of all the amazing feelings that you want to feel and all the good things and all the blessings, simultaneously, you have to be able to hold the other side. What does it look like when things don't go your way? What does it look like when, you know what I mean? So on and so forth. So you have to understand that just because maybe you aren't getting your preference or what you want doesn't mean that the vessel and the capacity to hold it isn't still being built in the process, right? And again, this is where so many of us quit. Been in seasons where I thought, oh my gosh, I'm failing, I'm doing it wrong, there must be something wrong with me, maybe it's not going to happen. But on the flip side, it was, can she hold herself in this too? Because it's not just going to be the praises and the money and this and that and the other things. It's how do you lead yourself even when you don't have that. That is real growth. That is real healing. That is creating capacity to hold the breakthrough, right?
Exactly. And I think there's something funny about the idea of like what rises must fall.
It's
Because
true.
sometimes we're chasing these feelings and like I want to feel this certain way and we become hell bent on that. It's like, yeah, you might be able to get there, but you're going to have to balance it out with the opposite. Like that's how reality works. It's balanced. So you can kind of get to a point where it's like, I'm not really chasing any particular state. I'm trusting how life works and I'm trusting that I'm supporting myself in it. And I might have an organic moment of a peak state that I can just enjoy as a gift from life. And then I might have a moment where I'm in a lot of sadness too. And like that's okay. But just kind of letting the emotional weather do its thing and focusing on more of how am I resourced and supported in moving through my life? Am I nurturing my life in the way that I actually have agency over versus trying to manipulate the way life feels? Because if you can manipulate yourself into bliss for a while with breath work and all this stuff, but you're going to
Yeah,
have to pay back the balance in terms of experiencing the opposite
right.
because that's how you can actually hold it. So it's interesting, and that's where I think with peak states, if we have that perspective of chasing more and more and more, you're going to have a much harder come down. So we want to
Mm,
be balanced in our approach. It's not just about reaching higher, because every time you reach higher, you're going to have a longer period of integration. So is that what you want to do practically? Do you want to upend your whole life because you just went nuts with the elevated states? I don't know. And I sometimes look back at my life. I chased peak states through psychedelics, through meditation, through breath work, all this stuff for so long that my balancing period lasted like 8 years.
yeah.
I'm like, now I got to go pay all that back.
Yeah. No, and I love that you're bringing awareness to this because I think a lot of people now with psychedelic medicine being a lot more accessible than ever, there is kind of this phase where it is getting unbalanced where people really are just chasing peak states and chasing more breakthroughs and higher dose and more medicine and thinking that's going to be the thing that changed their life. And then we see all these people doing that who are honestly doing more harm to themselves, right? Because even like we always say this, but even if you took one tiny little nugget from any of those experiences and really spent a week, 30 days integrating that, being that, becoming that in every way possible, you would be further ahead than doing 10 more medicine sessions, right?
Exactly.
So, again, it's the reason why we're having these conversations is because, yes, we believe in the power of the medicine. We love that it expands awareness and perception and opens these doors. But again, it's not going to do you any good if you don't become the type of person who can walk through and hold that, right? And
Exactly.
I'm sure most of you don't want to have to constantly be escaping to, these peak states to experience bliss or joy or pleasure or fun or aliveness, right? So it's like, how do we take that essence and that energy and weave it into our everyday life, into our families, into our relationships, into our exchange with our clients? Because there's real holistic healing, there's real omni benefit to using the medicine, right? It's not just about you feeling good, it's about what are you going to use with those insights or, those times where you feel like you touch something higher. What are you going to do with it?
Exactly. And I just had this like come through into my mind. It's like, okay, you touch something higher, like you said, it could be one insight, one perspective shift. And then life's like, great, you got the information.
Yep.
Now go apply it to all these different areas of your life. And
Mm-hmm.
we are going to situate life so that you have an opportunity to apply it,
Yes.
right? So it's like, okay, touch this thing that I want to be more unconditionally accepting of my life. Great. Let's throw you in a shit storm and see how unconditional you are.
Literally.
And it's like, no, no, no. Like, I must have done it wrong because I don't feel that love. It's like, that's because you are the love that you have to apply
Yeah.
to something that doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
That's what unconditional is. And I remember, I think it was Bruce Almighty, where, they're talking about patience. And he's like, when you ask for patience, like, are you given patience? Or are you given an opportunity to be patient?
Exactly.
And it's like the same kind of idea. It's like you gain the perspective, but then it's like now go apply it in situations that don't feel like you feel here. Can you still hold that perspective in something that maybe feels the polar opposite of this?
Yeah.
And if you can, then you've kind of landed the whole thing. So, like, I want to, going back to the unconditional love example, that's the perspective I got. Well, go apply it to the thing you hate the most and that you reject the
Hmm.
most. Because if you can do
Yeah.
it there, then you clear the rest of the ledger, so to speak. So
Yeah.
I think it's interesting with medicine work when it's like perspective, I got it, but I didn't apply anything. Got another perspective, didn't apply anything. Now you
Hmm.
just have a backlog of all this crap that you have to apply this, almost this information that you borrowed in a way,
Yeah.
to your life. It's like I'm using this medicine to borrow information so that I can apply it to my life. But that's my role and responsibility in this. So I think if we're borrowing a lot and we're not applying a lot, you have a big debt plus interest, and it's not going to feel very good. So
No,
take
and
your
I will
time with
say
it.
too, sorry not to interrupt you, we see this a lot where people kind of get stuck in a healing loop where they're just in their head and they're going over these insights and these things. And it's great that you know a lot, but there's a big difference in knowing something and living the wisdom of that thing, right? And
Exactly.
the bridge is embodiment and the bridge is integration,
And
right?
it's gonna look ugly, probably,
And it's
for
and
parts
it's
of it.
probably, and my shaman used to always say integration is like baptizing a cat, because you are literally going against everything that feels safe and normal and practiced and familiar to your body. So yeah, it does feel that way, but again, what is the point of having all these insights and things in the head to just create mental masturbation and essentially like psychosis if you aren't going to actually live any of it, right? Like, we don't want that for you. I rather you not do any medicine at that point, right? So I think there's a way that you can do this in a way that honors relationship and really honors the human experience. Where, yes, it can be a tool, yes, it can be an ally, yes, it can be a catalyst, but it's not the crutch or the thing that's going to change your life. You hold that power, and you will always hold that power.
100%. And I think in the beginning, when we're really struggling, like for a long period of our life, these medicines really can be life-saving because it gives us hope. It shows us that it's not just the storm, right? That the sun's still shining. And that period is awesome because you get to just bask in the sun. But that's a phase. The analogy I like to use is like if you were drowning in the ocean and a boat came up to save you and yanked you out, it's like you would be like, thank God I'm not going to die.
Yeah,
And then you're on the boat and you're still kind of freaking out because you almost died. And like you're hyperventilating, but eventually your breath returns back to its normal cadence. You realize you're safe, like you realize you're
yeah,
going to be okay. Okay, that's the phase in the beginning with ketamine. Pulls you out of the water, puts you on the boat, lets you get back to normal breathing. But then it
yeah,
says, you don't get to sit on the boat the whole time. It's
yeah,
just like you literally were going to die. So we had to pull you out. But
yeah,
like, catch your breath. But like, how do you want to do it differently next time you're thrown in the water? Do you maybe want to learn how to swim? Do you maybe want to like improve your lung capacity to hold your breath? Do you maybe want to learn how to move with the waves so that you don't just get crushed? Right? Like these are skills that you develop. So, but because you know you're going back in, like you don't get the choice of just sitting on the boat forever. So it's like, I know I have to go back in. How do I want to prepare myself this time? And so I don't want to downplay the importance of these medicines in that period where it's like literally I'm at my wit's end and I need to do something to save my life because it's incredibly important there. But again, once you're out of it's like almost drowning,
yeah,
the idea is different. Now you got to put in the work to actually learn how to relate to life differently, learn how to ride the waves, because those aren't going anywhere. In fact, you're probably going to hit a bigger storm at some point. So you want to make sure that you develop some skill.
yeah,
So I think it's just an interesting illustration that both sides are true. It's not like
yeah,
one's not true, but if we get past the relief, like I'm actually going to die, and then we keep chasing that, you could see how it's like we're missing the point. Like
yeah.
we're not actually under threat anymore. So like how do we get more involved in this again? And that's where I'd say we want to be more mindful of our medicine because hey, I'm going to borrow a lesson to apply to my life. Okay, I'm going to put in my work to do it. Once I feel solid in that, maybe I'll go back to the medicine to borrow a new lesson if I feel like inspired to do that. So really
Yeah.
interesting and taking your time, like you said, I think is really important past that life-saving phase.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying too, because not to keep beating this nail in the head, but there is a difference when you are in survival and you just need help to get out of survival, and the medicine is so incredible at doing that, of taking those hooks and cords out. But then yes, like once you're out of survival, it really is looking at, really looking at, I love when you were talking about the medicine as giving you lessons, because I think in the beginning the medicine is like a savior, right? I'm in survival, I need something to save me. But then through relationship, and once you kind of get out of survival, the medicine becomes more of a teacher. And you can come to it with that respect and reverence to really explore yourself, to really explore, things that have happened to you. And it can really be this teacher and this guide that gives you these lessons and these perspectives. But then it's like your conscious window is school. And are you going to pass the test? And are you going to actually practice the lesson? And are you going to do this? And then the thing that I also see happen is, we have either people that do, or you have the people who disregard the school part of it and just keep coming back to the teacher, and they want more lessons and more perspectives and more this and more that and more that. And then eventually it gets to the point where the medicine goes quiet. And then they're saying, well, why am I not having any of these things anymore? I don't understand. And it's like, well, what did you do with the 10 before? Right? You have to also remember this medicine is intelligent, it's wise, and it has its own consciousness. And if it knows that you're not respecting it with reverence and care and respect, don't be surprised when you start getting silence. And then you start wondering, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And you're back to phase 1 of integration, right? So we're trying to help you save a lot of time here by just integrating the medicine and in really embodying change, right?
And that's exactly it. It's like, I'm getting nothing, good. Like, you don't need more.
Yeah, you need to live your life.
Medicine, like, just like life, in my opinion, again, like, this is just my orientation towards life. I feel like it's serving our evolution. I think it cares about our growth. Like, I think that's the point, is to grow and evolve. So if getting more information is not in support of actually growing, then what's the point of having more crap to carry around? It's like, you have enough to apply, but you won't do it. Why would I give you more? You don't even have a foundation for the next thing that I can give you. And like, so my work, I took years break of working with medicine because I knew I just had to be in the mud for a while. I had a lot to integrate over, years of doing the work. And it wasn't fun. Like, I didn't have a lot of peak experiences. There weren't a lot of moments of spontaneous bliss in that process. It was a lot of keep your head down and just, till the garden. Like, that's what you got to learn. That's important in the grander scheme of things. But I think this is a really good way to tie this up about the breakthroughs versus day-to-day life and how it comes together. It's all important, but one does feel more exciting than the other. And I think we can't just trust it based on that feeling alone.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, this unconditional love, life should always feel this way. Maybe we get there someday. I'm not opposed to that. If you're honest with where you are, you don't have to force that. Let your body have its moment. Let your mind have its moment. Let it come apart on its own. Get out of the way of that process while simultaneously continuing to nurture your life. Then you won't have that existential crisis of I'm just surviving and not living.
Yeah. One thing, too, I want to add, and this is just a personal perspective, that I think, too, you get to a certain point where there's this beautiful intersection or relationship between you and the medicine and your conscious window when you really are honoring the path of integration and embodiment, where then it's kind of like they kind of begin to merge, where I don't have to be under influence of medicine to have a breakthrough in my life, right? And simultaneously, I can be integrating while doing a journey, right? So I think, too, there's a beautiful place where you truly are honoring both. And as you honor both and as you honor yourself in the becoming and the integration and the relationship, you start to notice that they start to kind of like interact and mirror each other beautifully in both states, either conscious and unconscious, waking and unwaking, right? Because, again, like we notice a lot of people rely on the medicine to create the breakthroughs, but when you actually are integrating and becoming that type of person, you start noticing those things, all aspects of your life, in all environments, in all relationships, right? Like there's always that consciousness or that invitation peeking through, but that happens through you being fully present here in your life, which the medicine is great to support you in getting to. So just to kind of forecast what happens.
I love that. It's like you become the breakthrough over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had the breakthrough as a concept, then you were given the opportunity to apply it in the different areas of your life. First place to always apply it is to your mind and your body.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I want to be more accepting of other people. Are you accepting of your body and all its weird shit it's doing? Are you accepting of your mind and its neurotic thoughts? Or is that a huge problem? We'll start there.
Yeah.
Hey, mind, I see you. I accept you as you are. Hey, body, I feel you. I accept you as you are. Start there, and that relationship with yourself starts emanating into all your other relationships. Mm-hmm. So I think we sometimes externalize a lot of these breakthroughs too. Like I have to go
Yep.
change all this stuff. It's like change the relationship with yourself first. This
Mm.
is your opportunity, and then you'll actually shine differently and see things differently in your life. And you'll get that opportunity. Hey, body's having a freak out. Great, I get to practice acceptance. Mind's going down into survival math again. I get to practice acceptance. So I think it's fun. It's kind of silly sometimes. I know at times it's infuriating too when we're going through this. But as you go further down the path and you start to relax your need to micromanage feelings and thoughts, I really think it gets a lot more fun. Is
Yeah.
there anything else you wanted to add to that, Kaylin?
No, I think that's a good place to end today. I think we covered a lot. And if you guys do have any questions regarding anything we covered, please feel free to drop them here. If you're on YouTube in the comment section, if you're part of our community, please like post them here under the video, post them in our live Q&A, and we will get back to you. We want you to feel supported. We want these concepts to really land. So if there's any area that you feel is missing or you want deeper support, please just let us know and we'd be happy to support you.
Well, thank you, Kaylin, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.